Me and my sister Rem, we had pretty normal relationship as siblings starting off. We got into fights about this and that, and we got each other mad and got each other's skin. But obviously, having a bigger sibling, it's not gonna be all like sunshine and daisies. So we definitely had some beef growing up. I spent a couple hours building this Lego ship, and she just totally smashed it on the floor. And she just always did little things to get under my skin because she knew how to press my buttons. But even though we didn't have all the same interests, we just bonded over certain things, and over the years really became closest siblings, even though with that 3 years age difference, and we still just found a way to connect over small things. So we really developed a bond that I'm proud to say it was one of my closest friends. So growing up in my younger years, going to elementary school, even though we did go to the same school and we really loved each other, had a care for one another, I really had no idea anything mental health wise that was going on within her own brain. In terms of depression and anxiety, I didn't have any kind of grasp on that and how real it was and how deeply it can affect people that are so close to you. There was one day specifically that I woke up and realized how real my sister's struggle with anxiety and depression truly was. The night before, I talked with my sister, and she was writing in her journal, and everything seemed normal. And I said, "Good night, love you too." And we share a Jack and Jill bathroom, so rooms are on either side. And I wake up in the morning, and the lights are on in the bathroom, and I walk in, and everything's just a mess, and the toilet had puke in it, and I was like, oh, this isn't good. And I came downstairs, and my parents weren't home, but my grandparents were here. And I was like, what's going on? Why are you guys here? And they said that my sister was taken into the hospital, and at this point, I still have no clue about her anxiety and depression that she's battling, but they said she was taken into the ER and that she didn't have much chance to live. That just really hit me like, oh my gosh, like I could have lost my sister. So we're on the way to the hospital, and I still have no idea about the full truth of what's going on. And I get into the room she's in. My parents told me that she attempted suicide by overdose. And that really just, I can't even describe the feeling. Just the fact that she had under a 10% chance to live because her liver was technically imploding. After all that happened and what I learned in the hospital room, I was just incredibly grateful that she was still alive and with us. It really put into perspective how real death is and how real her struggle is with anxiety and depression. And it really instilled in my heart that I need to be doing more, not only for my sister, but for others too. And from that point forward, I was willing to do anything for her, whether it was something simple, just like getting her a glass of water, doing her chores, or sacrificing my time for anything she needed. I was willing to do whatever it took to help her mentally and physically, even though I didn't have an understanding of what she was dealing with in its entirety. So fast forward 3 years, I'm 16 and she's 19 years old, and she's planning to go to IUPUI, and June rolls around and she has an apartment picked out, and she's super excited because she loved change and new things, and she was such a hard worker and never missed a single day of work. Like, she showed up and worked her butt off every single day. And one day in June, we get a call that she didn't show up to work. And immediately my parents knew that something was wrong. And at this time, I was in my room, just totally oblivious. And then I heard running through the house, and I knew something was wrong. My dad got in first and realized she had lost her life to suicide. And he was performing CPR, and my mom came out and told me that my sister had taken her own life. It took me months actually to accept that she is completely out of my life and she's not coming back. And I remember just feeling so lost, and in a sense of, I was so hurt and dealing with so many emotions of anger and fear and guilt, like I should have done this or I should have done that to save her life. That's probably one of the worst feelings in the world, is feeling that guilt. And I shut everybody out of my life for 7 or 8 months even. I wouldn't talk about it at all. And I felt like I was in such a bad place mentally that I didn't want to burden anyone else with the thought of that even. So I put into my own mind, I was like, I'm gonna make this work on my own, and I don't need to have other people into my life that are gonna have to deal with the same thought and the same burden. So after that 8-month struggle of feeling alone and just feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders, I finally had a conversation with one of my cousins, and it completely changed my outlook on how to deal with this struggle I was keeping a secret from everybody. It made me aware that sharing my story is incredibly hard, but the feeling that it could help somebody else, and even the good it does for my own mental health, is so amazing and spectacular that ever since that moment with my cousin, I just continued to be more comfortable sharing with others what I dealt with. I just like to use the analogy of squatting and going for a PR, and you just feel overwhelmed and crushed by the weight, and you can't do it on your own. And that moment I told my cousin about my struggle, it was like he was the spotter behind me and helped me up with that weight. And that weight was crushing me for 7 to 8 months. And until that moment, I didn't have a spotter. That community that I developed after, of friends willing to not even have answers for me, just listening about my struggle, just provided me so many spotters in my life to help me take that weight off my shoulders. So if I had to give anyone advice that's going through a struggle that they're keeping a secret from everybody, or maybe it is a public struggle that you just don't know how to attack or how to deal with, I'd say the biggest things for me are, number one, building a community around you and being comfortable with the fact that telling other people your struggle doesn't make you weaker. It's more mature of you to include them in that struggle in order for that weight to be lifted off your shoulders. And two, I know this isn't everyone's thing, but fitness is huge for me in terms of, even if it's walking outside, getting sunlight and vitamin D, or lifting weights in the gym, it does huge things for your mental health. And I can't express how important those two things are for you if you're going through something, whatever it may be. Those two things do amazing things for you. So I would highly encourage you to do those. And if you're ever struggling and you feel alone, just know there's always an option for you to connect with someone, whether it be someone around you, or you can always text 494949 and connect with someone immediately that will be there to listen and support you with whatever you're dealing with.